Hello and welcome all listeners. It's lovely to be speaking to you again today and bringing you another lovely, beautiful guest. Joining us today is Donna Meadow. Welcome, Donna.
Oh, Sonia, it's so great to be here and thank you so much. What an amazing job you're doing.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Look, as we've discussed, I love doing this, and I love bringing all the listeners the various different types of people, beautiful, fascinating entrepreneurs, and all of their tips and interesting talks. So today, listeners, we are talking about practicing safe success. Now, that's a little bit tongue in cheek, and it's a bit of a double-edged sword. So we've got quite a few goodies to bring you today. Let me tell you about Donna, and I'm going to put my glasses on again because my writing is just getting worse and worse. I must improve it. So Donna is an empowerment coach specializing in women dating later in life. She's the creator of Daily Dose A Donna and an author of her book with dating, as well as a co-author now in the Amazon's best-selling One Habit for Entrepreneurial Success. And she also has some other little goodies that she'll be sharing with us along the way. So she's a legal empowerment strategist as well. So, Donna, we're talking about practicing safe success, but perhaps do you want to give people a little bit of a background and context your story, which is fascinating, people. So take it away, Donna.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's when I think about it, it pulls at my own heartstrings. And so when we talk about the fact that as a widow, I became a widow 4 years ago. And this was not obviously not something I planned, but it became a catapult for bringing to fruition something that I had been in my heart since a little girl. And I always thought about and worked on personal development to bring myself to a place of always being in good relationships with people. I always look to be in a good relationship with a man. And it's odd. It's interesting. Like, who at 15 years old thinks about one day I want to be in a good relationship with a man? I mean, who thinks about that stuff? But it catapulted me to search and seek and evolve. And I found myself at 42 years old, Sonia, alone and jobless at a time in my life that's not where I envisioned myself. I had just been recovering from chronic fatigue. So I had a pretty couple of years worth of an illness that I was working on holistically to get better. And I went out dating, and all I could think about was, why do I feel like I'm in high school? Well, like I go to and now I'm in New York City at the time, and I'm like, all the girls are on one side of the room, all the boys are on the other side of the room, and I feel like I'm in a dance. And I just started to realize that more and more people, the more I emerge into this world, that they weren't having fun. Like, they weren't having a good time. People were like stressed out, and I'm going, I was one of them. I was stressed out. And then I started to realize, started to read the books. Okay. The men are from Mars, women are from Venus, the rules. I started reading all the books. And as a result, I wrote a book. So, because I started to realize that above all, people were not understanding the value and the understanding to go out dating later in life and have a good time. And I started to dive into why weren't they having fun? And I came up with some pretty solid answers.
That's quite
So,
fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah, quite fascinating. And as we spoke a little bit prior to getting onto this recording, it was something that I came across approximately 5-6 years ago, that it can be really quite a challenge for a lot of people as they become more mature adults. And really both male and female, but I really had become friends with quite a few females. And that being another relationship later in life, or first time real love, as you know, it was really quite a fascinating journey that people were taking with dating, and particularly for a lot of people that as you get older, you start to really stand in your own stead a bit more, particularly like if you're an entrepreneur and you're running businesses. So you've got a power in a way. You're a business owner, but yet now you're going to do dating.
Yeah.
And that was, I was like, wow, I hadn't really thought of that. Thank goodness in one way that I'm not part of that cycle, because yeah, that would be difficult.
What
And
would
I
you
find it
do?
fascinating that there are so many coaches out there doing that. And so tell us some more, a little bit about that. What are the typical sorts of challenges that a lot of your clients come up with that you help them with?
Yeah, great conversation here, Sonia. Great questions, because you're 100% right. I'm not a matchmaker, and I am not here to connect you with anybody. What I want to do, and what I continue to do as an empowerment coach, and it's an amazing how it sort of evolved. It really, my husband departing is what catapulted me forward into turning this into an actual coaching business. And I have a very specific niche. I work pretty much with women who are dating later in life. Say people say, well, can men come? Well, they can if they find me and they there's something about it that they want to learn from me. But my niche is women dating later in life. I don't care if they're gay or straight, because the rules are the same. And I actually have a 6-week program that walks them through the process of going out to enjoy the idea, to enjoy dating regardless of the outcome. That's my whole thing. It's like, you gotta have fun. If you're not having fun, why are we even doing this? And so,
Mm.
and I sort of chipped away at the blocks as to what causes somebody not to have a good time, helps them realize certain things that they are, because we all live in our own heads, right? We all have this story going on. And so I bring some great resources to the table in the 6-week course. And I empower people to understand what it looks like when you're on the same page, but more importantly, when you're not on the same page, and what to do about that. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, as you're talking, I'm still thinking of people that I've come across in different ages, even through to someone that I know that's a real, this young female, and she's in her 30s and she's very headstrong. And the whole thing, as far as when you're running business in today's day and age, we generally, and particularly with that entrepreneurial mindset, is that we know how to evolve with the trends of now and to be prepared for the future. Yet talking to a lot of these people, they're still trying to be guided by rules from back then when
Yeah.
they were young. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, how does that work out? You know, or why should it change then when two people start getting more serious,
Yeah.
and that relationship change, going back to old fashioned rules of when you were being brought up compared to
Yeah.
now and who you are now.
Mm,
So
so
guide us a
good.
little bit more with that. What would you suggest?
So good, so good. Yeah, and I juice about this because I salivate because I'm so eager to assist. There's just very small tweaks that some people just need to understand, to start looking for love in all the right places. Okay, and so and what's interesting, when I say I specialize with women who are dating later in life, later in life can be 30. It can
Yeah.
be. What I'm thinking in my mind always, it's somebody who's not in college anymore, not in high school.
Yeah.
It's the person maybe who's going through a second or third time, or the person looking for love and not understanding why it's eluding them. And when I was ready to date again after my husband passed away, I went back to my own book, okay, and followed the blueprint. It worked the first time, and guess what? It worked the second time. I know what I'm doing. I'm a dating coach who's actually married, so I understand the trials and tribulations of dating. I understand the road bumps that we get to. It's not that big a deal. I'm not looking for. People don't need a year of coaching for this,
Yeah.
and it's really simple task. So. And to get to your point, yes, I'm working with a lot of women who are strong women. I'm a strong woman, Sonia. Okay.
Yeah.
And I wanted somebody strong.
Yeah.
'Cause so I just have to help some people, women, change the thinking a little bit, because when you're strong in the boardroom, doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean you want to be strong in the bedroom. And there's
That's
a
right.
whole different thing that goes on. And as a 61-year-old, okay, I understand what we face. I understand what we're looking for. And let's face it, at the end of the day, nobody wants to be alone. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be in a relationship to have value. I am not saying that. The people who come to me, Sonia, are the ones who are saying, I've got it all except that. Why can't I get that? What is it? And I'm not saying you shouldn't have that list, but it's interesting if you could understand that the list could be inhibiting you. Your list could be something that you created when you were 5 and still carrying with you, as you know. So I bring resources to the table to assist people to sift and sort and readjust so that they can go out with a new list or possibly no list. How about that? How about we just go on a date to have a good time? How about we just go out with somebody and meet them and find out what they're about and enjoy that process? How about that, Sonia, right?
I think that's so good. That's so good. You know, even having had parents that have gone after divorces and looking at them, and even in their 70s and 80s, and doing this whole dating thing, and how they revert back to those old lists, like you were saying, and those old stories, and even as us adult children, and saying, well, hold on a minute, that's not who you are. Why are you doing this different role thing? And how the ripple effect is for not only for you directly, but it's also a lot of your loved ones, whether even if they're friends and things like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really quite fascinating. We sort of take quite a few things for granted, and yet that is a fundamental of life, because love, that sense of belonging, it's such a major part of our life.
Yes. And to another point that you just brought up, I will tell you that we change when we are affected deeply with an experience that we go through.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
Loss of a loved one. I don't know that there's a deeper cut than the loss of a spouse or a child. Everything
mm.
else seems to pale by comparison. A couple of weeks after my husband passed away, and it's actually going to be 4 years ago this week, uh, I was at the hairstylist, and I'm staring I'm looking at my face in the mirror, and I'm staring, and she's fussing with my hair, and we get nearly finished, and I say to her, I need some red in my hair. And she says, well, we don't really have time for that. And I said, being the New Yorker that I am, if you don't put red in my hair, I'm going to go home and do it myself.
Yeah.
And because what was happening was I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm thinking, you look the same, but you're not the same. You'll never be the same again. And this has become my brand now. It's actually become my logo. I'm going to show you
Yeah,
that
I
because I
love
think
it.
it's
I
really
love your
cool.
logo. Seriously.
And you like
Whoever the
that?
artist was, love it. Love it. Love it.
And people are like, well, you realize you'll have to have red for the rest of your, I'm like, I don't know what your point. So what's your point? I don't even know what the problem is. And so everything we do matters. We evolve into this new person. One time somebody said to me, wow, too bad your late husband's not here to see all that you're doing. And I said, are you kidding me? He would have hated this. He would have hated the red. He would have hated the bohemian look I took on. I used to be very, more like Ralph Lauren and more business type. And I just changed. And when I think back at major changes in my life, major events in one way or another, I physically have changed. I changed my clothing. I changed my hair. I changed. So it's been interesting. And I bring Safe Success together in this whole package, Sonia, because I'm here in the States, you're in Australia, but here in the States and in Canada, I've been able to utilize a legal plan. And as a widow who's able to utilize a legal plan for a nominal monthly fee and yet reap the benefits of over $13,000, I was dumbfounded at the fact that so many people don't know about this. And so when my husband passed away, he was in a different country. He was in Mexico. He was getting immunotherapy. He was improving. He was healing. And he ended up passing away immediately from a simultaneous heart attack and a stroke. And the company that I had the policy on didn't want to pay out because he was in Mexico instead of the States. And with a simple activity of picking up the phone and talking to my attorney with this very empowering subscription-based legal plan, reaped me the benefits of $13,000 that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And that's why I tie empowerment together, especially women who are dating. We're dealing with and I say I don't have children, but people have child support issues, they've got divorce issues, not to mention getting wills updated, everything at this nominal fee. I'm telling you right now, if you had it in Australia, you'd want it.
Yeah, I really, oh gosh, I like the idea of that. When you mentioned that, I'm like, oh my gosh, hello, that makes just so much sense, because that can help you both in your personal life and surely in your professional life.
Yes.
Does it work that way with the business?
Yes, yeah, we have layered in. We can layer in different plans, and so
Yeah.
I've been doing that for 9 years, and I've been out empowering people. And when it came together of understanding that I just love, just like you love doing these podcasts and getting to know us.
Yeah.
I mean, look
Yeah.
at this. We're like juicing because we're getting to know
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel when I'm doing a dating webinar. My 6-week course is like, I'm so excited about empowering these women in whatever way it takes and what they're looking for to achieve that which they say they want.
Yeah.
Not what I want, what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. I look at that. Oh gosh, the benefits. I can just think of so many people that I think, oh, I should really send them your way. But it's people, I suppose, it's a little bit like that, a horse to water. They've got to be ready for it too, don't they?
Well, they do. It's interesting. Legal plans in the States have been here for 48 years at the Mike company, even a little bit longer. And what I have found is a lot of people say, well, I know what an attorney is, but I don't know why I need one. And I say, good point, because I didn't know why I need one either until I had one. And when I had one and I didn't have to pay for them every time I wanted to ask a question, I tell you, I got BFFs over at my law firm. So yeah, if anybody in the States or Canada, you can send them my way, Sonia. I'm happy to help them. It's exciting. And to deal with my niche, which is these women who find themselves at a time in their life when they leave, they didn't expect, nobody got married when they were 20 and 30 and thought, well, one day I'll get divorced and I'll be able to go out dating. Nobody thinks like that.
No. Yeah.
So when these women come to me and I see they've given up hope, I want to show them that there's hope, not just divorcees who are very strong women, maybe in, like I said, in business, but I'm dealing with widows who I'm giving them permission that's okay to love again. That's a huge step. And that was a bit of a trick for me, by the way. You could imagine your heart is in love with two men, and one's here and one's not here, but your heart doesn't know that. And it's been an interesting journey. And so I'm writing my next book, which has to do with grieving and intimacy. So
Yeah, I think that would be really quite powerful. I mean, I've gone through grief, but not for like my husband and not for my children, thank goodness. So
yeah.
there's, grief in itself is just so many different types of things, but I've, and it affects people in so many different ways. But on the same token, when people have gone through I've noticed that also with people that have gone through divorces, and that's that sort of a grief as well. It's really quite a fascinating journey, us as human beings, because really what it's all about is that love and that sense of belonging, like I said. But you know what? I'm looking at this right now and looking at that big wheel behind you. So tell us, please, for those that are going to watch, I'm going to have to make sure I put this up on my YouTube channel as well, so we can see this visual. And what tell us.
What is that? What is that? Okay, I'm happy to share. Again, the catapult of losing my husband brought me to a place of understanding that I did not want to live the rest of my life in disparity.
Yeah.
It was probably the worst pain I'd ever experienced was losing him. And I have quite a healthy understanding of life and death and all that, but it was excruciating. And so I gave myself time to disappear for a couple of months. And when I emerged, because I'm an incurable optimist, Sonia, I'm like, one of the things and what you don't know, we actually never spoke about, I have a podcast that I'm actually uploading to YouTube now, 3 years running, Daily Dose A Donna, is a podcast or a Facebook Live that I did daily. And as I would talk about my very reality show type things that were going on in my life, I would always end with, this is how I set my dial to joy. And I created a joy dial so that people would understand that when you're in disparity, what do you do to get to joy? What does that look like for people? And so I'm not asking people to jump from despair to joy, but I am saying there's a ladder. There's gauges we can go through, and that's what I discuss also in my next book. I've created this joy dial, which I have bookmarks, so that people can understand that they can go from, maybe they can't get to joy in a leap, but maybe they can get to worry or anger. Those things feel a little bit better than disparity,
Yeah.
and if you can climb up that ladder in some way and get you closer to joy, that's the goal. And
Absolutely.
so that's what that is. So I'm trademarking it. I've got it all moving along, and I'm in love with it. I don't know what I'm doing with it yet. Obviously, I'm not going to get, this is 4 feet diameter.
Is it a spinning wheel that you use in your workshops?
No, it's actually, I'll show you. It's actually I would put it up on a, what do you call those lifts,
Oh,
and
yes.
so if when I'm talking to them and we're talking about where they're at, if
Yes.
they're feeling guilty,
Yes.
guilty is a lot better than despair. Anger feels a lot better than guilt. And so we move along, and if we can get to possibly belief or hope, we are getting closer to joy. And so that's the goal.
I like it because I'm very much into visuals, and I think visuals are so important. And I really, really like that. Do you know that one of my sayings is find the joy?
Well, you know what? I'm glad you're saying that. What happened, the reason I say set your dial is because I want people to be deliberate. I don't want them to trip over. I knew that just because I was grieving didn't mean I wasn't happy. I mean, talk about a conundrum, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm grieving and I'm in the worst pain ever, but it doesn't mean I'm unhappy with my life. It doesn't mean I'm unhappy. And so how do I be deliberate about getting my mindset in a place where I can set my dial to joy, not wait to trip over it, not wait for love to find me, not, I want it to be deliberate.
Yes.
That was why I used those specific words.
Yeah. Well, finding the joy is deliberate. And I know how much it's helped me over the years and with depression and things, and having a child on the spectrum and who was also suicidal and all of those sorts of things, and having looked after parents that have passed away in my arms and those sorts of things. But even, I remember when my mum was alive, I would always say, when she started going through her times of depression, it's like, Mum, find the joy. Even if it's doing the dishes, find the joy. It's a little bit different to the gratitude, and it's a little bit different to the happiness, but it's also it's a deliberate thing to try to move your mindset into finding a pathway that will get you there. And so certainly with people in business, and there's a lot of listeners here that just because they're an entrepreneur doesn't mean that they don't have that personal life. So I'm sure that a lot of this information has helped them. Yes.
Absolutely. We want to practice safe success together, and it all goes hand in hand. You're 100% right.
Yeah, definitely. So with the whole love aspect and the self-love, so I like how that you've put it as it's empowerment coaching for individuals, and getting that whole dating thing. Gosh, I'm glad that I don't have to do that, I tell you. And because that in itself is different to the love. So all of those processes, and especially if you're so used to setting the rules as a business owner, when you're in that situation, you're not necessarily setting the rules.
Well, and you don't want to.
No.
You don't want to. Listen, I'm a strong woman. You know what? I don't want to make the rules in the bedroom. I don't. When I met my now husband, I couldn't believe, because he's such an alpha male. Now, somebody one time said to me, well, I'm not going to go out to date because I will never find another man like my husband. And I said, you don't want to. I mean, that was my thing. I'm like, well, I'm not going out to look for a replacement.
Yeah.
I'm going out to connect with somebody on a different level. I'm a different person.
Yeah.
I'm a completely different person than when I got married at 50 and then again at 60.
Yeah.
Two different people. Trust me on this. So, and I wanted what was a fit for me now, today. And it's it doesn't say anything bad or against my late husband.
Yeah.
And sometimes those words get tricky because I have his children to think about. They're not my kids. So I'm careful about how I word things because I don't want my late husband's kids to think I'm negating my late husband. I love him. I miss him, but I'm in love with my now husband, and it's like two different people. It's a very interesting little pathway. I'm never going to go out and look for somebody to replace my late husband. Never.
Look, I think that it's, unfortunately, and my condolences, it's been a bit of a sad journey for you, but on the same token, there's been that shining light that's come about from you. So, blessings do come in lots of different types of guises. And it's great that you've been able to find the joy and the success in that, and to be able to help others along the way and empower others. So you've empowered yourself and those around you, and then others, and then let alone that you've got the whole legal side a part of that as well. I think
We're
that's
like
just
putting our superpower cape back
yeah,
on.
totally. Wonder
fun.
Woman, hello.
Yeah, right.
I think that's so awesome. So tell us then, what is on the remainder of the horizon for, because there's not a lot left in 2020 and then into 2021. Tell us what's on your agendas.
We are rolling right through 2021 with, I'm launching my very first virtual Dose A Dating webinar on November 18th. I'm marketing now, and I'm going to continue to do this. So I'll be marketing so that people can come to that and join me on a 6-week course if it makes sense for them. And what I didn't tell you, Sonia, and I'm happy to offer it here, is that I actually lowered the price on Amazon as low as I can go on the Kindle version of my book, because this is a blueprint. And now it's actually a love story, because it's actually what I did up until I met my late husband. Then I stopped the research, right? So this got published before he passed away, but it was dedicated to him. So I lowered it on Amazon, dating. It's not personal. Donna Sparacco, you can find it on Amazon, to the lowest that they would let me do. And I'm not a techie person, so I got it to $2.99. If people are looking for a blueprint, or they're trying to figure out what I did, this is a great place to start. So when they come onto the webinar, if they choose to, they're ahead of the game a little bit, because I make reference a lot to this book.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea to be prepared. Like if someone's really going to do something and get the most out of it, it's best to be prepared as much as possible. And then of course have that, they'll be able to leverage what they're doing with you. So get the most out of it then and there. And then it's still a blueprint that they can always go back to. I think that's awesome. I think that's a seriously fabulous price. Seriously. I think that's really good. I don't know how people would feel though if I was to buy that as a Christmas present for them.
Well, and I will tell you, I will just side note, I've had life coaches come to me and say that they love what I'm projecting here, because I'm basically saying work on yourself, don't look for somebody else to fix you.
Yeah.
And then I've had married people come to me and say, I'm married, I'm happily married, but I've been reminded about a few things. So this is really cool. I'm like, that's awesome. So yeah, a lot of good stuff.
That's really, really lovely. And then anything else on the horizon for you in 2021?
As I move forward, I will grow, because people are speaking to me now. This conversation right now is literally me right at the beginning of my launch of my first virtual dating webinar. And I couldn't be more excited. In 2021, we're going to roll into a bigger, and we're just going to keep making more of those, because people need help. They really do. I went through, how long it took me to go through and figure out. I was dating for 3.5 years before I met my late husband. So I did the research. I wrote the book. I published it in 2014. I'm cutting the learning curve for people through a 6-week course. And right now I'm launching a beta test, or a pilot, if you will. But as I move forward, it's just going to get bigger, and I'm excited to get on stages when that day comes again, or more virtual OPP, virtual other people's platforms. So that'd be great too. But full steam ahead there, Sonia.
Oh, you go, girl.
And my Legal Shield business, I'm recruiting. People are like, well, I want to do that because it's about the mission. It's about the mission. I'm in love with the mission of what we do.
Yeah, same. Absolutely love that. And I think that's a really good idea for people to get on board, especially like in a sort of a founding sort of situation with what you're doing. It means that they're going to get a whole lot more support from you anyway, because this is where you're just so excited and want to get those success stories, which is really lovely. Yeah. So that's your offer for the listeners?
Lovely. Yes, that's my offer for the listeners. I lowered the price specifically for this so we can get it down, and they can just go on Amazon and find that. And if they enjoy that on Kindle, that's super awesome. And of course, I'm always available on social media if they're looking for me.
Beautiful, beautiful. And as most listeners know, that on the website, soniaclark.com/, episode, or you just click on the podcast there and find Donna, and go into her page there that I've got for this recording. The URLs are there, information about Donna, all of those sorts of things. So yeah, look, thank you so much for spending this time with us and sharing such lovely stories and some beautiful hope, and with your tips around that. Before we go, is there any last minute thing you might want to say to the listeners?
Thank you, Sonia. I first of all, I could listen to your voice forever because I just love your accent. But
My
I
accent.
would my message would always be that remember to get yourself grounded. And today's day, right now, with this pandemic going on, literally, I tell people go sit in the grass. Literally, get
Mm,
yourself grounded and focus on what's congruent with you to keep yourself balanced no matter what's going on around you, because that, my friends, is how we set our dial to joy.
nice.
That is how we do it. So be
Absolutely.
grounded.
Beautiful, beautiful pearls of wisdom there. Thank you so much. Absolute lovely. And look, we look forward to seeing where these webinars are going to be taking you.
Thank you so much, Sonia.
Thank you. Bye-bye.